So you can also raise your hand. There is an icon at the bottom. You can click on it, and the floor will definitely be given to you. There's also a chat function. Yes, I can see somebody greeting me. You can leave a message in the chat so I can quickly have a look at it. Thank you once again for those who are connected. Now, I believe all the participants will join us as we move on.
Is it okay? Hello? Taswish, can you hear me? Donc, pour ceux qui viennent de nous rejoindre, moi, je disais qu'en bas à droite, à gauche plutôt, vous avez
As I said, we have a function for the interpretation versions. You have French at the bottom, and you also have English. Kindly click on the language that is more suitable to you. So kindly click on the suitable language. Let's start. Let's start. Let me give the floor to the presenter. He's going to introduce himself very briefly, and of course, he will continue. Francis.
Oui, moi, je vous entends très bien. Ok, parfait. Visiblement, il a du mal à se connecter.
Francis, are you connected? Can you hear us? Says the presenter. Is Francis around? Can he hear us? Francis, are you there? Francis, are you there? I can see he's disconnected. Let's hope he's going to join again very soon. Okay, are you there? Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Artificial intelligence.
Francis, are you there? Can you hear us?
Est-ce que vous l'entendez ou pas?
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I think it's a network issue.
Yeah, okay.
So my hub here in University of Lagos is the hub for responsible artificial intelligence for education, innovation research network in Africa. And I'm speaking on AI in education, the challenges and the way forward. Next slide, please. What is AI? Artificial intelligence on its own is a branch of computer science that is concerned with the design of intelligent device that display features or characteristics that are related to human intelligence. That can interpret or display what is expected from human. It is also a designing of machines to make them behave like humans, to make them reason and process information gotten from human, which can go as far as spatial processing, language processing, and image processing. Next slide. AI has 6 different major branches, and the branches include machine vision, robotics, expert system, natural language processing, machine learning, and deep learning. All these major branches of AI are what simply perform the function of reasoning and processing in terms or as it relates to human. Machine vision on its own is a branch of AI that is based on human ability to see, recognize, and identify what AI is doing as it comes to human. This branch of AI has great recognize the object with great speed and accuracy, and in that form interpret it. It is an idea of machine vision that is used today in most video surveillance, but next slide. Next slide, please. Robotics, which is also a branch of AI, has to do with designing, production, and controlling of robots. It has been built to carry out functions which are not duly education related, but they perform the functions that has to do with instructional process. And these days, robots are now built to act as an educational instructor or facilitator, though they still need human as support. And that's why while we are defining AI, we have seen it as a branch that is concerned with design of intelligent devices. So the instruction gotten from human that have been processed or input into the robots are what they bring out and function as human, and that's why they act as facilitator or educational instructor as it is being given to them. In some cases, there are also common examples of this, like the Microsoft Azure to IT Hub. They provide physical issues as in classroom situation with full video and audio connections in their hospitals, and also in homes to enable learners participate in learning process. And this is helping individualized instruction and also distance learning as the case may be. Next slide, please. Expert system is the ability of a computer to copy and replicate human experts on a particular subject area to solve identified problems in that area. This idea is related to the one used in telemedicine. The idea of expert system is used in intelligence tutoring system, which plays the role of professional tutors and provide professional answers to solve instructional problem as identified within the environment. Next slide. The natural language processing, which is NLP, is the ability of the computer to assist in human natural language and communication method. It has the ability to translate languages and web pages in good time. It also communicates directly in form of chat box and even help in writing assistance. We have different platforms that performs in this function, and such platforms are Google Translate, which can translate or communicate within seconds. Another example is a chat box which allows processing of direct communication like that of
Sorry, the speaker is freezing. There is no voice. Thank you.
Donc, nous allons devoir patienter encore un peu. Il a eu un problème de connexion.
Kindly be patient. The speaker is joining soon. He was disconnected.
Is it okay?
Hello, 1, 2, 3. Can we proceed?
Can proceed if you can hear me now.
Yes, we
Can you
can
share
hear
the
you.
screen again?
Yes. Is it okay? I think it was on machine learning.
Can the host hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Francis, everybody can hear you. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. While the screen is being shared, I will continue from here. Before the network issue, we're talking about the LLP, which is the natural language processing, and it's the ability of computers to assist in human natural language and communication method. And I gave examples such as the Google Translate, the Twitter box, the chat box, which can function in translating web pages in a split of second to preferred languages. And from the machine learning, we can also see it as an advanced area of AI, which has also helped AI to gain its major recognition. It involves the designing, training, and deploying of models to application through algorithm and scoring system, which can be used to grade assignments when it comes to instructional delivery and processes. Also, the deep learning is a neural network used to understand machine learning. It helps to complement the activities of machine learning when it comes to its delivery process. Artificial intelligence, as it relates to education, has influence on the growth of education through its intervention as it goes with educational applications and web searches and other learning platforms which can perform functions that goes beyond automation. And when we talk about this, we'll see examples such as the chat GPT, which is a chat bot launched by OpenAI,
Hello, this is the interpreter. This speaker is no longer audible. Thank you for waiting.
The information of an individual to what the individual requests for or what the individual is
Hello?
Hello, I don't know if I can speak.
Yes.
So sorry, so we can't hear Dr. Lafari.
Yes,
It seems to be
unfortunately.
not enough. My name is Chenai Kyola, and I'm also from the same hub as Dr. Lafari. I don't know if we can. I'm aware of the slides, so I don't know if it is something that we can. Perhaps I can just stand in for him while he tries to sort out the network issues.
Okay, so wait. So let's go.
Sorry. So,
Yeah, I think you can.
but you can hear me very well, right?
Yes, yeah, very well.
Okay, so can we just go back a few slides? Let's go back to
Okay.
machine.
Okay, good. Machine learning here?
Yes, like 3 or 4 slides back, I think. Because I think that's where I got it up to, right?
Okay.
And I'll just continue from there, if you don't mind.
Which slide would you like to start with?
Yeah, let's just talk about machine. Let's start from machine learning.
Okay.
Yeah, this is machine vision. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's here.
next slide, please.
Okay.
Okay, good. So we'll start from machine learning. So machine learning is an attempt to mimic the way human beings solve problems. And so what we have is we have a set of inputs that is presented to an algorithm, and then the algorithm tries to make sense out of the data and based on some labels. Sometimes it may not even be labeled. And an area of machine learning that has made machine learning very popular today is deep learning. And deep learning is basically another type of machine learning algorithm that is based on neural networks generally. However, the difference is that it has multiple hidden layers, and that's why we call it deep learning, because it has that multiple hidden layers. Next slide, please. Next slide.
AI in education?
Yes, AI in education. So, as you know, we are the hub for AI in education, and so we want to be able to see how AI has penetrated and influenced the growth of education generally. So today we've seen a number of applications that are aiding or assisting in education. Next slide, please. The first one is the chat. A very current one is the chat GPT, which is the chat bot, right? It has its pluses and minuses, right? It's basically a search engine, like one of the leaders in AI called it. They called it a search engine on steroids. But then it's also based on machine learning and basically it's based on something called the large language model. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so we also have a number of applications that are based on machine learning. Till, for example, is one that helps in job search, and again, it's based on machine learning to be able to match, the jobs with what your skills are. Next slide, please. And then we have where's the match? Something very similar to Till, right? That's also used to do a job search, and it tries to increase the chances of the candidates in landing an interview. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so today we have a lot of translators, right? And one of them is in PowerPoint. Translators, we usually want to be able to translate translate languages into text, right? And so we have that here, especially for people that have hearing problems. You have the translator. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Not Grammarly?
Yeah, so I guess there's a delay in my okay, so yeah, so Grammarly is something that we use to be able to ensure that our writings are as syntax-wise they are okay in English language, and it even has gone as much as being able to suggest ways of correcting, our grammar, right? And so it helps us in our writing. Of course, again, this is also based on machine learning, and while it has taken a long time to get to this point, because it's interesting that grammar is not such an easy thing, right, to automate. Next slide, please. The next one is the tutor bot that is, and we have a lot of bots. Tutor bot, for example, is also one that is able to respond, to tweets, right, and is able to automatically generate interesting and creative content for users. So basically, to be able to do some of these things, it's like doing recommendation. Recommendation currently is also using a lot of AI in it to be able to make sure that what is being recommended to you is actually matching your interests. And next slide, please. Okay, so we also have people that assist in trying to coach us in speech, so that we can actually be able to be better when it comes to speaking, right? And so Spico is also based on AI, and it's one of those applications that is assisting in teaching in public speaking. Next slide, please. The next one is Turnitin. Turnitin is an anti-plagiarism software, and basically what it tries to do is it tries to look at submissions and then tries to see what level of plagiarism is evident in that submission, right? So again, in order to do that, it tries to use some AI to be able to do those matching, right? Next slide, please. I'll just go through those applications very briefly. We have ResearchGate. A number of times I get emails from ResearchGate trying to recommend, for example, articles for me that they think is of interest. In order to do that, of course, what has happened is that they have seen what my interest is, right, and they are trying to match it with the articles that are online. It could be because I'm also interested in some particular authors, right? And it could be because I'm interested in some particular topics. Next slide, please. And so the same thing is similar for Scopus, right? And then the next slide, please. And then same thing applies to the Web of Science, right? These are all academic sites that try to ensure that my interests in subjects are catered for. And these are really not very trivial problems, right? So because what it's recommending should be something that is very germane to my interest. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Challenges?
Yeah, so there's a delay, just pardon me.
Yeah.
Right. So it's still not here, but yeah. So we can talk about the challenges.
I'm in already.
Okay, Dr. Festus. So I hope we'll have a smooth one now. So we've just talked about the applications, right, as it pertains to AI.
Yeah, I was able to listen to you. Thank you very much for the support at that moment, sir. Okay, the challenges that we really face in terms of AI goes to do with majorly, some of them are peculiar to us in Africa here, like the issue of data. We have every technology, just like artificial intelligence, it has its benefits and has its own disadvantages. And in this regard, the fear of AI
Dr. Francis? Would you like to go with?
Yes, I think
Yeah.
I can still go ahead, right?
Okay.
So
Go
we are
ahead.
so sorry about this.
Okay,
So
good.
um, so challenges of AI. Um, so we have a number of challenges in AI, and some of them are actually very peculiar to us in Africa. And one of the major challenges we have, like Dr. Lafari has mentioned, is data. So a number of AI applications that have been built so far, the majority of them are built in the Western world. And of course, the data that is used is usually from that part of the world. And so Africa, when it comes to data, is very much underrepresented in that space. And solutions that usually are developed usually a number of times will not fit, will not be fit for Africa. We have a number of examples that we have seen. There was an application that is meant to assist, for example, in diagnosing cancer, and it was found out that when that same application is used on people from Africa, that it performed very, very poorly. Personally, I actually had the opportunity of talking to an oncologist very recently, and one of the things they are really trying to do is to get data from the African region to ensure that they can also train these algorithms to be able to identify, cancer. Can you go to the next slide, please? So, so while data is one of those challenges we have, and of course we have to have put in a lot of effort to be able to ensure that data is available. You find out that very peculiarly in education, we even have more challenges. And one of the challenges is because education is usually very tightly policed by the government. So you find out that you cannot do a lot of things easily when it comes to education in this part of the world. So can you go to the next slide, please? The other issue, I'm not seeing the next slide yet. Yeah, the other thing will be okay. So the issue has comes up over and over again that so if we have AI, will it not take over jobs of so many people? Understandably, it's a fear that is justified. Definitely, a number of jobs will go, but then sometimes it takes us back to how technology has actually affected us in the world. Sometime back, ordinary automation took away a number of jobs. But when we reflect back, we find out that on the long run, it will seem that we are better off for it. We have more jobs that are created. So while it's taking up some jobs, right, it also means that it's also creating a number of other opportunities. In the future, I'm looking at a situation where jobs that we have not even thought of today are going to be created by the use of AI. We've mentioned the non-availability of data, which is something that is particularly prevalent in this part of the world. And we've seen a number of efforts from IDRC, for example, and a number of other organizations to fund projects that is aimed at data collection, right? So that we can have data, right, to be able to train this algorithm. Then there's also the issue of privacy, which really needs to be addressed. Today, we've seen a number of countries going on to have a data protection policy to be able to address some of these issues. And then there's the digital divide. One of the things that may happen with AI is that the divide that is already noticed, right, between the developing countries and the developed countries due to technology is going to increase. And that's one of the reasons why we have to ensure that in this part of the world we are not left behind. We don't want that digital divide to increase, but it is a challenge right now. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I think the next slide should be the way forward. Hello? Okay. Just the next slide, please. So what do we need to do? Infrastructure is one of those things that we need to really concentrate on in Africa. Interestingly, I know a number of countries have actually improved. I was reading yesterday on how connectivity has been greatly improved in a country like Burkina Faso, right? And there were a number of countries that were mentioned, Rwanda, for example, Congo, right? And that's really important, right? We have to be connected to be able to do anything meaningful in the AI space. And so for countries to be able to play, there has to be a conscious effort to improve the infrastructure. Connectivity is one of them. Of course, making available computing resources, right, is also very, very important for such development. It's interesting that one of the greatest challenges also in Africa when it comes to education is the fact that there are a number of people that are excluded, right? Exclusion is a very big issue in education in Africa. And so one of the things AI will have to do is to be able to identify these excluded populations and then be able to attend to them. One of the excluded population that we have seen is based on gender, right? So we find out that a lot of out-of-school children are mostly girls, right? And there are a number of reasons for that, cultural reasons, conflict, and so on like that. So we have a lot of out-of-school children in Africa, and so this has to be addressed. And so whenever we are building solutions, you have to build solutions that do not increase the excluded population, but rather are able to address, this issue. Apart from gender, interestingly, another set of people that are usually excluded are people with disability. And it seems like for a number of solutions that we build, some of these issues are not even considered, right? If we are going to make great advancements in AI, then we need to be able to look at how we can include people with disability, right, in different countries. Interestingly, a research on disability even show that the people with disability are more concentrated in rural areas than urban areas. And that tells us a lot of things. It means that we need to look at how we can bring up people for bring infrastructure and education to people in the rural areas. So it makes us wonder if this digital divide is just between the developed countries and developing countries. Is it not just also between the urban areas and the rural areas? So we've talked about gender. Yes, so AI has to be able to address gender gaps. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I don't know if the delay is from here.
I think we are leveraging machine translation and text to speech.
Is that the last slide you have?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So there are actually a number of other things we want to talk about. So we are the education, we are the Responsible AI for Education Hub, and we also want to share some of the projects that we have embarked on, right? When it comes to how we are addressing the issue of AI in education. So we have currently 7 projects that are being undertaken, and they are being undertaken across Africa, from West Africa to East Africa to South Africa. And I'll just highlight some of those innovations that are being worked on currently. So I'll start with a project in Kenya, and this project tries to address exclusion. Basically, it tries to bridge the language barrier using artificial intelligence for Kenya sign language among deaf learners. So the project is targeted at deaf learners, and it tries to see how we can have English translated in real time to sign language, so that when I'm speaking, for example, there can be some system that will translate what is being spoken, right, to sign language, so that we can communicate with deaf people that have hearing impairments or are deaf in real time. Another innovation, a similar innovation that is also going on in Nigeria, similar to that, is also text to sign. In this case, it's trying to see how you can improve the education of pupils with hearing impairment, also by translating text and language to sign language, and vice versa. So I also do sign language, and it will be translated to text, right? So that with sign language, I can actually also communicate back to people that can read. Then also in Nigeria, there is a machine translation project that tries to convert text to speech in disseminating content in native Nigerian languages. One of the themes that we have in the hub is breaking down language barrier, right? And so a number of projects are trying to see how we can be able to break this down by having automatic machine translation, right, in this area. And so this, for example, is trying to see how we can translate text to Hausa, English, Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, some major languages in Nigeria. A similar one is also being taken up in Ethiopia, in which a system is being designed to be able to translate Amharic text to speech, so that visually impaired people or blind students will be able to, go through those materials. And so anything that is already written in Amharic, right, they are trying to translate it to be able to translate it to speech, right, so that blind people can also be able to read some of those materials. And then one other project in Nigeria is trying to see how we can enhance personalized learning also in native languages. It's been found out that a lot of students, pupils actually are able to perform better if they are taught in their native languages. And I know that in Nigeria, for example, in some parts of Nigeria, when you try to teach them mathematics, for example, and you have to use English, it becomes a very difficult task, right? And so it will be a lot easier if some of these things are actually available in the local language. And then one other project that's going on in South Africa is trying to design an AI-enabled e-tutorial platform that is gender inclusive. So they are trying to see what gender challenges that we have when it comes to tutorial applications, and see how we can be able to, address these disparities, right, through the e-tutorial application, right? So these are some of those innovations that are being worked on. One last one that I would like to also mention is a group that is working on being able to do translation, and then imbibe into it accents that the users at the end of the day, or the students at the end of the day, will understand. So it's also found out that because we have different accents, that also is a barrier to being able to to learn, right? So in order to break this barrier, can we be able to do translation, right, from text to speech, for example, but not just to speech? Can we do it in such a way that the speech will come out in the accents, right, that the pupils understand at the end of the day, right? So these are some of the projects that are being embarked on currently at the EduAI Hub. And that's not the end, because we are also we still have some proposals that we are still looking at, and hopefully in another few weeks we'll have more projects that are innovative and we are going to be embarked on. One of the things that has come out of this is the fact that we have identified that okay, so we have some of those things online. I can see it now. We have identified the fact that inclusion is a very big issue in education in Africa, right? And it's something that we need to address. When we came out with our themes, we came out with 3 major themes. There was administration, there was inclusion, and there was language barrier. Of course, language barrier is like a subset of inclusion. However, on looking at the cause and then looking at the current situation in Africa, it will seem that one of the greatest challenges we have is inclusion, right? While some parts of Africa are actually moving on at great speed, some other parts, right? And it doesn't mean different countries, even within the same countries, are lagging behind when it comes to education. And so to be able to address this, we think, and we strongly believe that we can actually employ AI, right, to be able to do this. All right, so I'll stop there for now. I must apologize once again for the bad network. I wasn't supposed to be the presenter, but I guess we just have to get this done somehow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your support.
Okay, thank you. Maybe Dr. Petrus, would you like to add something else?
Yeah, I've spoken on what our team is working on and those things that we've discovered as way forward, which people are bringing up as solutions in, that can solve most of the challenges and the barriers we've observed. Based on our environment, the issue of like the data divide, non-availability of data and others and in terms of our students, the special students, inclusion, the gender issue, which most of the things the call has called in for, and we've seen a way out that people are ready to provide solution to, irrespective of our location in Africa and others. So I think it has really done justice to the PowerPoint as it is being prepared from the team.
Ok, great. Donc, je pense qu'on peut passer à la phase des questions.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We can move on to questions and answers. If you would like to ask a question, whoever is interested in asking a question, kindly click on the requests button, or you can just raise your hand and the floor will be given to you. Yes, please. Okay, I see Mr. Muyenga. You have the floor. Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon. I would like to ask my question in English, in French. Can I continue? Yes, please. Yes, we do have interpretation. Please proceed. Thank you very much. I'm Musa Mwenga, doctor in technology in Ankara, in Turkey. The question is the talk about ChatGPT, which is an artificial intelligence tool. How can we implement ChatGPT within the educational framework? I also would like to ask a specification. Can we use ChatGPT as a tool that we can implement in the deep learning? Thank you very much.
The educational framework. Hello?
Yes,
you can proceed, please.
Okay. Most of the functions of ChatGPT, when it comes to assessment, it functions very well. In the sense that, one, when your students are submitting assignments and your students are copying one another, you can easily get what or the source at which they are coming from. Also, it can help you as the facilitator not to be dynamic, not just giving the same content the same way. Like it happens to most of us, what we taught last year, we are repeating it the same way this very year. But with ChatGPT now, it can easily change the format which we are expressing our mind, our opinion to our learners. That is in its direction. In the area of ChatGPT as it relates to deep learning, it helps to generate human mind, human perception in form of text. I'll see it like a form of neural network that has been successful in taking tasks, restructuring human idea in a way that will make it simpler and comfortable for the receiver, which are our learners, to have an in-depth knowledge of what we have in mind, of what the facilitator has in mind to express. So the way you perceive it as a facilitator, the ChatGPT can help you make it simpler. Take it in a form of from simple to complex for you, so your learners can easily understand the context and the content at which you are trying to give onto them. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Doc. Sorry, can I just come in a bit? Yeah. So I think one of the questions was, how do you implement Chat GPT, if I'm not wrong, in the educational sector for education? So I mean, Chat GPT is a tool that allows you to be able to, you know, search for knowledge, right? And in that case, what it means is that I can be able to, rather than searching, you know, through a whole lot of academic materials, I can actually get some answers very quickly. However, we must use it with caution, right? Because what is giving us is based on the data that has been fed into it. And one of the things we are actually doing in the hub is also to see how unbiased, in quotes, right, those responses can be. And we've seen examples where you ask the same question twice and then Chat GPT gives you, you know, slightly different answers for the same question, right? So while it is a good resource for you to get information, right, I think it should not be like the final arbiter when it comes to decision making on the information that you are getting, right? We still have to go and make sure that the sources are verified. Note that when that Chat GPT gives you some of those responses, it doesn't even direct you to the sources of those information, right? So that's very important. And behind Chat GPT is what we call a large language model, right? I don't know what really the question with deep learning, because I don't think Chat GPT will help you with deep learning, right? If that is the case, right? It's not going to help you with deep learning, right? The other way around, deep learning can assist Chat GPT. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Il y avait une autre question. ChatGPT on flip learning approach.
There was ChatGPT in flip learning approach.
Didn't get that.
Put it in the chat. ChatGPT on flip learning.
Oh, okay, on flipped learning approach, not deep learning approach.
Okay.
Okay, I was thinking Dr. Lafayette wanted to take that. So I'm not sure I know exactly what flipped learning approach is, right?
Yeah, it's a form of blended instruction. Hello? Okay, it's a form of blended. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. In flipped classroom, I think ChatGPT is more of a one-way instructional delivery pattern that it's only the person that needs it at that moment that gets it used. So for you to get the required feedback, it's not really feasible. So it will function more when it comes to blended learning or any form of or any approach in blended learning. So it's called like it's a one-way approach. I need this information, I need to digest and work more on it. It won't really work more with the flip learning approach when it comes to instructional delivery.
Ouais. Est-ce que la réponse à la question, ça vous convient?
Okay, this is to the person who asked questions. Are you satisfied with the answers? Mr. Maganga, you can activate your microphone if you want or answer in the chat box. Okay, he's satisfied. Yes? Yes, I understood. But what I wanted to know is the flipped learning is an approach that correspond to blended learning. But in the flipped learning, we put the content before the classroom. So can we use flat GTP as a means to ask students to get knowledge before coming to classroom? And then in the classroom, we can look at instructional knowledge. That's what I wanted to know. So how can we implement ChatGPT within a system where we can request students to go and visit ChatGPT to conduct research. And even though ChatGPT doesn't have answers, they can do a summary, send to the instructor, prepare questions before coming to classrooms in order to strengthen their knowledge. So that was the specific questions. Because the flipped learning delivers contents to learners before they come to class. So how can the instructor can module students to use ChatGPT before coming to classrooms as a tool that is going to encourage flipped learning? That's what I wanted to know. But I have the answer now. Thank you very much.
They said we need to use ChatGPT with caution. And if we are really going to use it with caution, it will really do well with the flip learning. If you have asked them, okay, coming into the classroom with a certain entry behavior, and you've asked them to prepare themselves towards this, yes, they can learn from simple to complex. The context or the concept you have in mind can be given ahead, and they can get it simplified using ChatGPT. However, it is still good that you put caution into it in the sense that if they get used to it and the instruction becomes a type of stereotyped form of instruction, it can logically take the classroom away from you, because every form of explanation you are preparing for, I think ChatGPT would have simplified it in different form depending on their request. And by the time they come into the classroom, yes, it saves your time, but it can bring in distraction. It can set in noise into the classroom. And that's why I'm still saying it won't really go well with the form of blended learning you are saying it with. If it's an automated form of I'll still see it as a good form, or it's beyond just being automated. So it creates a kind of distraction in the instructional delivery. And that's why the word caution, as you said, is still necessary and important when we want to use it for instructional delivery.
Très bien.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Maganga. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? You can put your answer in the chat. Thank you. Is there any other question? Are there any questions? All right, no questions. All right, as far as I'm concerned, I have a question. The question is related to gender inclusion. In your presentation, you mentioned how we can fill all the gaps uh, in school setting by including males and females. Now, in your research, do you have any project related to that? And if yes, what have you achieved so far? And of course, what are solutions related to gender gaps?
All right, thank you. So our projects are at the very early stage right now, and so we don't have specific results that we can discuss at this
Okay.
point.
Okay.
The only thing we have are projects that are trying to target gender, right? What will happen? Okay, so maybe before I go ahead, we are a hub, right? And what we are doing is basically we are managing a number of projects. The
Mm-hmm.
projects are as conceived by the sub-grantees, right? And so
Yes, yes.
as a hub, we are not directly involved, right, in those, we are not the one conducting those projects or
Yeah,
those
okay.
research. We are only managing them. And then, of course, we are giving them the support and then direction for some of those projects. However, we have an overarching um, objective, right, which every sub-grantee will definitely align to, and one of them is to be able to address gender. Um, so what we have done is even at the point of conceptualizing the projects, we ensure that the gender issue is also addressed. So we have
Mm-hmm.
GI at every point, GI considerations, right? At every point of the project, from the call that we sent out to the project that was conceived. Um, One of those projects is trying to address, and that's the one from South Africa, is actually one of those that is trying to address how you can ensure that you have gender inclusive learning. And they are trying to do it through AI-enabled e-tutorial application. Again, it's in a very early stage, and so we do not have a particular outcome right now. But we hope that as time goes on, everything will become clearer and we'll be able to have positive outcome in addressing it. But one thing is very clear, and the clear thing is whatever approaches that we are going to be using may not be the conventional approaches, because that's what we've been using for a long time, and it hasn't closed, these gaps. And in recent times, rather than even getting better because of a number of things that happened. One is COVID, right? And then in some parts of Africa, the conflicts, you find out that the gender gap seem to have even increased according to the United Nations report. Right. So, but we hope that as we go along with the project, we'll be able to do very specific outcomes to these questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Est-ce que y a-t-il d'autres
All right, are there any other questions? Dear participants, does somebody have a question to ask? No, so far. All right, so far, no questions.
If you have something confidential. Can you hear me? Hello. Ok. Vu que j'ai vos adresses email, si toutefois après la présentation peut être partagée.
Okay, since I have your email addresses, was requesting whether the presentation can be shared. Yes, Mr. Maganga, do you have another concern?
About AI in education, African network about AI on education. Because I'm a PhD student in educational technology, I want to know if the kind of network where I can participate also to learn more about educational technology or specifically that's artificial intelligence in education.
Ouais.
Can you please repeat the question? I can't hear you very well.
I want to know if there are any network about educational technology, specifically intelligence artificial and education for Africa network.
Any network, specifically
Yes,
educational technology experts that are dealing with AI
yes, for Africa.
for Africa.
Yes, because I'm a PhD
As
student on
far
educational technology. That's what I'm asking.
as, as far as I know, for now, I'll say kudos to those in computer science and kudos in computer science education. They are bringing majority of us in educational technology into the AI space. But not all of us in Africa are really keen into the AI space. And that's why most of the challenges that are occurring in instructional delivery are still in existence. But as you have said it now, maybe we'll pick it from here and we'll start to work on it. So maybe after this presentation, my email address is there. I'll try to talk to one or two professors around that are in educational technology and we can initiate that. So let's just relate via WhatsApp, via email after this presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Ok, très bien. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions?
All right, are there any other questions? If there are no other concerns, let us close by saying thank you very much to the two presenters. Thank you very much for sharing your input on today's topic, especially as far as we are concerned. These are some of the topics that we should be engaging on. And we need to look for solutions to see how we can strengthen those domains in the educational system. And that goes also with Africa and elsewhere in educational settings. We need to bring about solutions. All right. You have the email of the presenter. It's on the screen. You can send all your emails. Of course, if doctor agrees, I can share his slide with you. Thank you, Dr. Festus. Thank you very much. Thank you too to the technical team that was patient enough with the interpretation. Thank you so much. We will meet again in further discussions to discuss on other topics as well, be it education or various domains. On that note, thank you very much, everyone. If you have the email, you can, of course, contact Dr. Festus for further details. Thank you, and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.